Mighty Esports 24, where sports thrive.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
everything music.
Angelina, you dey cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver.
This is Stocky Movies.
In times of old, the world was full of wonder.
No.
Stop it! Welcoming you to your weekend for today.
Arise, oh, come patrol it. It's time to use our voice.
Beyond 6 packs.
Bills.
Pay your bills, keep paying my telephone bills, please pay my automobile bills.
Welcome to Gallery.
Hello and welcome to Nationwide. We thank you for joining us. I am Lydia Odije Ochi. We now bring you the details of the news. The 9th meeting of the Federal Executive Council for the year 2021 has held at the Presidential Villa. President Muhammadu Buhari is presiding over the high-level engagement. It is the 38th to be held virtually in compliance with the COVID-19 safety protocol. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, Chief of Staff to the President Ibrahim Gambari, and National Security Advisor Babagana Monguno, and 11 ministers were physically attending the meeting. Other members of the council, including the head of service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemieson, are participating in the weekly meeting online from their various offices in Abuja. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that several memoranda from ministries, departments, and agencies of government are expected to be considered in furtherance of efforts at achieving sustainable growth and development of the country. We will bring you details of resolutions adopted by the Council in our subsequent bulletin. Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions has reassured Nigerians of its commitment to a thorough investigation of the alleged mismanagement of 6.2 billion naira NDDC palliative funds. Chairman of the committee, Ayo Akinyelure, gave the assurance at a press briefing in Abuja. Mobolaji Moribirin has the report.
To the press briefing, the committee had summoned the sole administrator of the Niger Delta Development Commission to appear before it and provide explanations of how the alleged 6.2 billion naira meant for procurement of COVID-19 palliative was spent.
27 senators are here. None of us can vouch that any of these parties get to their constituents. So we want the sole administrator of Niger Delta Region and his top management staff, in NDDC to come forward with their written defense in black and white, at least 10 copies each, to get to this committee secretariat on or before 3 p.m. on Thursday. There, we will study it, then we will now open a public hearing based on their submission to do Nigeria on 29th March 2021.
The committee promised to play its constitutional role in protecting the citizenry. From the National Assembly, Mobolaji Moribiri, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the proponents of the movement of minimum wage from exclusive to concurrent list were concerned about welfare of workers, especially the age-long problem of irregular or non-payment of salaries. While hosting leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress, who visited on the issue, Gbajabiamila reassured that the House would never do anything to hurt Nigerians, as the lawmakers will always work in tandem with the yearnings and aspirations of the people.
Whatever the issue is on the issue of minimum wage, whatever was proposed, whatever was debated, those who debated for and those who debated against, every single person that spoke on the floor was well intended.
The NLC President Ayuba Waba was of the view that minimum wage bill will erode the more than 40 years of progress made on minimum wage negotiations in Nigeria.
Nigeria have made commitment at the international level by domesticating the convention, and therefore Nigerian state will be held responsible, not subnationals, in fixing a minimum national minimum wage. And also the misinformation about the fact that national minimum wage is to make people to pay the same salary structure. That is not true. It's only setting the fairest minimum, below which you cannot pay.
The visit was in continuation of NLC's mobilization in rejection of the proposed Constitution Amendment Bill on minimum wage, which has passed second reading at the House of Representatives. Good news for Nigerian women, as World Trade Organization's Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala unravels platforms to boost trade opportunities towards driving economic growth for the Nigerian woman. This was during an interactive session with women from different groups and walks of life at the Ministry of Women Affairs. Momso Demiendati was there.
An expectant gathering, an excited atmosphere of photo sessions and pleasantries. Then comes the moment everyone has been waiting for, the arrival of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. That set the ball rolling as women from elective and appointive offices, military, police force, civil society groups, development partners, and all take turns to make a case.
So a patriot, somebody who wants to make sure that her people, her country, her women excel.
Who want development, who is happy to help.
Has shown that a woman can get to any level in life as long as you are focused.
We inspire our women to just dream beyond where they are today.
Unanimously, they agree with the submission of the wife of Nigerian president represented and that of women minister.
You know that Nigerian women are great entrepreneurs. They have done so much. So many of them have been so frustrated in their various businesses. God has brought you to this seat to salvage us.
On behalf of Her Excellency, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, stand here to congratulate you. We want to have more of your types representing us not only in Nigeria but all over the world.
The response of the World Trade Organization DG was as expected.
The WTO cares about the ordinary man and woman on the street. The WTO wants to help redress inequality through trade. The WTO wants to see trade as an engine of economic growth, which is what we all need during this pandemic.
Momso Demiendati, NTA News.
United Nations has appealed for greater efforts to combat violence against women worldwide. President, United Nations General Assembly, Volkan Bozkir, said this in New York at the opening of the 65th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. Adebola Brooksland Sunday reports.
The United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, which was founded 74 years ago, seeks to evaluate gender equality and promote policies for the advancement of women across the globe. Volkan Bozkir and other key players at the session agreed that better laws need to be made in order to prevent violence against women.
I call here on all member states to strengthen legislation against gender-based violence, establish reporting and redress mechanisms for victims, commit to data collection, election observation, and violence monitoring.
I also call on states to harmonize definitions of rape with international human rights standards and to explicitly include lack of consent at its center.
For the Secretary General Antonio Guterres, the fallout from COVID-19 pandemic has shown how deeply gender inequality remains embedded in the world's political, social, and economic systems.
What you need is not more training for women, but to train those in power on how to build inclusive institutions. We need to move beyond fixing women and instead fix our systems.
Final thematic report to the Human Rights Council is expected to address the prevention of rape as a human rights violation and on states' responsibility to prevent it. Adebola, Brooks Lane Sunday, NTA News.
The growing cases of attacks on schools and abduction of school children, no doubt, has generated concerns by well-meaning Nigerians. Latest to lend a voice to this and protection of women and the girl child is a summit of women across Nasarawa State. Abigail Bashir reports that it was convened by the wife of Nasarawa State Governor with participants drawn from across the social strata.
Seated in this hall are young girls and older women engaged in different vocations to support their families and by extension the society. To many, it also affords them the opportunity to emphasize how they can be equal partners in decision-making processes, especially those regarding policy formulation.
Except women are brought to the forefront in governance and in political representation, the desire to achieve the sustainable development goal will be a fight cry.
It is instructive to note that while the pandemic has no regard for gender, since it affects both male and female, it is also a fact that women especially have been placed as special risks.
While commending their patience, resilience, and tolerance in the face of COVID-19, Nasarawa State First Lady Lifat Abdullahi Sili called on all stakeholders to exert their different levels of influence on gender-based issues. She enjoined the women folk to take advantage of the gender-friendly administration of Governor Abdullahi Sili to thrive and ensure their voice is heard. In Lafia, Abigail Bashi, NTA News.
The Federal Executive Council has approved $1.5 billion for the rehabilitation of Port Harcourt refinery in Rivers State. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, announced this while briefing journalists after the Council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari.
So we're happy to announce that the rehabilitation of Port Harcourt refinery will commence forthwith. It is in 3 phases. The first phase is to be completed in 18 months, which will take the refinery to a production of 90% of its nameplate capacity. The second phase is to be completed in 24 months, and the final stage will be completed in 44 months. Discussions are ongoing. We want to take one at a time, and I want to assure you that before the lifetime of this administration expires, work on all the refineries would have at least commenced.
Time now to join Michael at the Center of Excellence for more reports on Nationwide. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Lydia. For Nigeria to fully harness the huge regional market under the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, AfCFTA, government and other key players driving the process must demonstrate needed political will while sustaining engagement with the private sector. This is part of recommendations by speakers at a special conversation organized by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry to draw a roadmap for the successful implementation of the AfCFTA. Adini Taiwo reports.
Under the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, what is at stake for member states is a 1.2 billion population market and a $2.5 trillion GDP. Now, this conversation, organized by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, is to bring together key stakeholders who will brainstorm on how the agreement can be successfully implemented and also give Nigeria economic mileage. Although Nigeria has ratified its document under the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, the country, with about 19% volume of trade in the African regional market, is yet to commence trading under the new agreement.
It has become necessary to deliberate on how we can expedite the implementation of the agreement across countries on this continent.
This panel, made up of key players in the implementation of AfCFTA, believes that growing the numbers and promoting regional trade with little or no barrier is achievable when there is a concerted effort to remove political, social and other bottlenecks in the way of smooth implementation of the agreement.
If we can have that ease of doing business here, so that Nigerians can actually produce things and be able to compete.
We have to look for investors that would invest in infrastructure finance, as well as trade financing.
For most of the speakers, including the Secretary General of the AfCFTA, Wankele Mene, who joined the conversation virtually, unity among African countries and enforcement of the rules of origin protocol to prevent incursion of foreign products are important.
We will have to work very, very closely with our customs authorities to make sure that we prevent transshipment of goods coming in from other countries, from third countries.
The AfCFTA went into force on January 1, 2021, with 54 African countries already on board. In Lagos, Adeni Taiwo, NTA News.
As members of the literary world delve into different aspects of the creative industry, a group of writers who aim to interactively learn and explore ways of improving writing skills of members have emerged in Lagos, promoting reading and writing culture among the youth. Uzezi Arure reports.
The world is fast evolving, and creatives in different sectors constantly devise means to either catch up with the world or break existing records. To contribute to the development of writing in Nigeria and impact the society, writers in poetry, song, scripts, and the creative industry organized a webinar to discuss ways of improving the industry.
Writing culture, if properly harnessed, we stand to benefit, not just as individuals, as a nation, as communities.
Zonal Director, NTA to Lagos Network Center, Lawal Hamed, highlights the changes in the television landscape and the potential it has for young creatives. According to him, the changes affect every aspect of the creative industry, ranging from audience, technology, content, and marketing.
When you look at the change, you'll see that it comes with new genres in production, genres that have actually broken the borders of production. So the whole idea is to expose the amount of value the customer is likely to get. Several service providing companies wish for better ways to explain to the customer.
Participants say the potential that exists in literature, media, and other areas of the creative industry has a noticeable effect on the society and encourages arts and culture.
We have talents that are capable of increasing the potential of cultural diversity and economic empowerment. And the digital world has opened up the space for us to explore all the different opportunities to build the Africa we want.
The phenomenon is capable of reducing evil vices, social delinquency, juvenile delinquency, armed robbery, whatever social evils that are being perpetrated in the country today.
The Writers Interactive Network is a literary society founded in 2018. In Lagos, Uzezi Arure, NTA News.
Time now for a break, and when we return, Jos is our next stop, where Zimret is standing by.
Hello, I bring you wonderful news. The village headmaster is coming back to your screen. Mo wire abi mi o wire. Teacher yo mo, a fẹ́ lọ wá nǹkan jẹ. Teacher yo mo, a fẹ́ lọ wá nǹkan jẹ. Ọmọ onírẹ̀
Ajebo na better school for last gidi. Not be all this on a rugged yes school for Ijabi. I don't know for you.
Second, it's called Oja Village. Kadesi. We know happy at all.
And I know that even you too, you are getting a lot of orders too. Hey, we are trying, shall sweep her leg out. She was standing there. Sweep it.
I love you so much.
And how did I give you the impression that I was interested in that position?
50-year anniversary.
You mean anniversary?
I mean, I talk with that now.
Not for me. Not for me because of Pamio.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Fresh off a derby win, the Gunners travel to take on the Hammers in another London derby. Will they make it 2 out of 2? Find out as West Ham take on Arsenal at the London Stadium this Sunday on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 3:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Access Bank, Baba Ijebu, Lipton Tea, and Close Up in association with Gold.com.
Thanks for staying with us. Governor Simon Lalong has made a strong case for the development of communities hosting hydroelectric dams in the state and across northern Nigeria. The governor made the case while receiving the Governing Council of the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission, Hyperdeck in Jos. Indeyang and Bagyang reports.
Governor Simon Lalong, who received members of the Governing Council, explained that hydropower in the country started in Plateau and appealed to the Commission to ensure positive change in the host communities.
If you look at areas like Kura and Gasis, with the coming of this Commission, I'm very hopeful that a lot of things are going to be done to take care of these host communities.
Because of what is expected of us as a body and the nature of our functions, we cannot do it alone. Hyperdeck will run to you many times for support.
The team was in the state to assess areas where hydroelectricity projects are sited and to also interface with the host communities on some ecological challenges with a view to addressing them. The Commission visited Kura Falls in Gashish, where one of the foremost independent power company established in 1929 is situated.
When we farm, when water comes down from the dam, it only get to our farms. And that's the problem we normally have.
Interacting with the community, the Governing Council of Hyperdeck allayed the fears expressed by the community and restated its commitment to managing ecological challenges resulting from hydroelectric power activities and physical development of power-producing areas.
Make sure that we ask from the community what is their feeling, what do they expect that is more than what they are having now.
The Governing Council of the Commission also inspected one of the power generating dams and some facilities of the power company. Meanwhile, the Commission paid homage on the Bangom Jos, Da Jacob Gyang Buba in Jos, Indenyan and the Abuja. NTA News.
Governor Simon Lalong has attributed the prevailing peace and stability in the state to the understanding of the people and security agencies. Governor Lalong stated this in Jos while receiving the new Acting General Officer commanding 3 Division, Brigadier General Bello Mohammed. Priscilla Grumnan has details.
With peace as one of his administration's cardinal policies, Governor Lalong said working in close synergy with security agencies will further strengthen the state's security architecture. The governor assured the acting GOC of his government's support in his new task and in working towards tackling insecurity at all levels across the country.
Ours is to continue to work with you, and the normal support that we give will also extend it to you, so that at the end of the day, insecurity, insurgency, banditry, and all sorts of criminal activities will be a thing of the past in this country.
The new acting GOC of the 3 Division, Brigadier General Bello Mohammed, said his new posting is an opportunity to contribute to peace and security in Plateau State.
And I want to assure you that I'll always be available at every point in time that the need arises. At this junction, sir, on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff, I wish to express our profound gratitude to Your Excellency for the support and special intervention you have been giving to not only 3 divisions and all the security agencies within Plateau State.
Brigadier General Bello Mohammed was until his posting a director in the Nigerian Army headquarters in Abuja. From Government House in Rayfield, Priscilla Grumnan, NTA News.
And that's it from this end. There's more nationwide with Lydia in Abuja.
Many thanks, Zinret. Barely 24 hours after extraordinary security meeting with stakeholders, Governor Nasiru Ahmed El-Rufai again restates government's stand never to negotiate with any group of bandits or pay ransom for the release of abducted students in the state. The governor was speaking when the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Ishaku Amao, paid him a courtesy call visit at the Government House, Kaduna, to discuss ways of ensuring the safe return of the abducted students.
It is the first official visit of the Chief of Air Staff to the Government House since assumption of office, and it is coming at a time the state is seeking for the support of the Air Force to rescue the abducted students of Federal College of Forestry Mechanization Afaka and the teachers of Rema Primary School, Pinungwari. The Air Chief says the days of the bandits are numbered, as his men will do all they can to rescue the abducted students.
And we are out for them, and the armed forces is out. The CDS and the service chiefs, we are determined.
The state government restated its confidence in the ability of the Air Force to deal with the bandits.
We were able to rescue 180. They are only able to get away with 39. Those 39 lives matter to us, and we will do whatever we can to get them back, but we will not pay a penny as ransom. All the stakeholders supported us that the position that we've taken is the right position. In fact, one of the stakeholders suggested that we should make the payment of ransom a criminal offense, because if the ransom is not paid, the business will end.
That shows Nigerians that the Air Force is intensifying air surveillance to rescue the abducted students. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umurajingi, NTA News.
Still on security, the personal vehicle of the Emir of Birnin Gwari was attacked on its way to Kaduna. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that despite the damage to the vehicle by bullet shots, the driver of the vehicle and security survived the attack.
The vehicle riddled with bullet holes on the windshield and the driver's side door indicates how vicious the attack was. It's clear the target was to hit the driver and halt the vehicle, but the security personnel attached to the vehicle was on top of his game. The Emir of Birnin Gwari, Zubairu Jibrin Megwari II, was supposed to travel in the car, but somehow he decided to take another option.
At the last minute, I decided to ask for relief from Nigerian Air Force, and they were the ones who brought me to Kaduna that evening. And so that's how God made it. I was not in the car, but it's clear that the bandits targeted my car, and Allah protected my driver and my orderly. Only my car is the one that got some bruises, but we thank God.
His driver, who survived the attack, remembered vividly the sorrowful incident.
We were heading towards a highland, and suddenly they began to throw obstacles, and thereafter shots from various points. And our security returned fire until we scaled through their traps.
In Kaduna, Abdullahi Muhammad, NTA News.
Cutting off the stream of supply of arms to criminals is a task the Nigeria police is executing currently. Police Public Relations Officer, Force Headquarters, Frank Mba, told newsmen in Abuja during the parade of 50 kidnapped suspects. Francis Form has more.
Prince of criminals, 44-year-old, jailed several times for high-profile crimes. Just December last year, he was granted pardon in Kaduna Correctional Center. Despite this benevolence, no sign of repentance. He may likely revisit the correctional center again after found with a pistol.
I said, how will they get a bullet? He said, let me send the money to bullet. I send the money to bullet. That is the way they catch me.
This 20-year-old suspect specializes in altering international mobile identification number, a talent he has obviously misplaced.
How many phones have you changed the IMEI number? 8, sir. Techno and Infinix, sir.
A gang of 6 specializes in robbing residential areas. They confirmed carrying out robbery operations in Kwara, Ondo, and Abuja victims before operations. Also paraded was a gang of 3 who conspired to kidnap manager of AYM Ashafa filling station in Zaria, Kaduna State, but prompt availability of intelligence helped the police for swift reaction.
We are working with both our local intelligence sources as well as our international partners to ensure that we're able to cut down the free flow of arms and ammunition.
Parade over. Next step is the courtroom, where their fate will be decided by those on the wicks. Francis Form, NTA News.
Still on security, troops of 81 Task Force Battalion of the Nigerian Army in conjunction with Civilian Joint Task Force and Vigilante on Monday, the 15th of March 2021, neutralized several terrorists in Dikwa Access, Borno State. A statement by the Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Mohammed Yerima says the joint operation in continuation of the ongoing subsidiary operation in the theater of Operation Lafia Dole, code-named Operation Tura Tokaibango, also recovered arms from the terrorists. The perception about the few recognized as frontliners in the theater of war against terrorists and banditry may no longer hold, as the media is also stepping up its roles in changing the narrative and sustaining healthy information culture. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that already The Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria is engaging the management of the Northeast Development Commission.
Northeast region has suffered severe setback from terrorist attack for about a decade, and collaborations to end the dark era and return sanity to the affected region is gaining momentum.
People need to have the right information, the relevant information.
Synergy to galvanize key players is now being brokered by Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria with this visit to Northeast Development Commission.
What the insurgents have done is to use some of our weaknesses, to exploit those weaknesses and continue to do what they are doing. Along the line, convincing people who are very vulnerable because they don't have the right information at their own disposal. So therefore, we as Radio Nigeria, we think that we are partners that can help in the rebuilding of the society itself.
The Northeast Development Commission says the collaboration will strengthen security architecture, improve socio-economic well-being, and enhance quality information.
We are trying to develop a master plan, which needs a lot of publicity for people to know, to engage the stakeholders, even to engage the local people to know what we are doing.
The Commission reiterates commitment to leverage on stakeholders' support to return the region on the path of peace and sustainable development. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Tolerance to one's religion, cultural norms and values have been identified as sacrosanct for the peaceful coexistence of the society. This formed the basis of the National Conference by Miyetti Allah Kautal Hure Socio-Cultural Association of Nigeria in Yola to fine-tune modalities of bringing to an end farmers-herders clashes in the country, from where Nafisatu Abdulhamid Dembos reports.
Gathered here are members of Miyetti Allah Kautal Hure Socio-Cultural Association across the 36 states of the Federation. They are here to find lasting solutions to the problems bedeviling the association, especially farmers-herders clashes, cattle rustling, among others, that have continued to be a source of concern in the society. The national president, Miyetti Allah Abdullahi Bello Bodejo, expressed commitment of the association to revive the long-existing peace among farmers and herders in the country.
Let us join hand with the government to just do what they're supposed to do, especially in the peace area.
Presenting a paper on defense and security, Adamu Ahmed Chiroma identified loss of grazing reserves, poverty, farming practices, illiteracy, banditry, and cattle rustling as the major factors contributing to farmers-herders clashes.
So why can't we come together, as people, and talk with ourselves and tell ourselves the home truth and come up with ways and means on how to improve our relationship.
Highlight of the occasion was the inauguration of new executives of the association in Yola. Nafisatu Abdulhamid Dembos, NTA News.
Rainstorm wreaks havoc in Ilorin. Adebola is standing by in our Ibadan Network Center for details of this and more.
Yeah, and welcome to Ibadan. Rainstorm has destroyed property worth millions of naira, with many communities left in total blackout in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. Kendi Omolosho reports.
Areas visited are Tanke, Fati, and Olonshogo, where many electric poles and cables, shops and businesses were destroyed. Cecilia Fashe is a widow whose roof was blown off.
We have no other place to sleep. This is our load outside, do mattress and the ocean and everywhere.
Just had to put ourselves one place so we could be able to sleep. We shout. Everywhere was filled with water.
So we are appealing to the government, probably to NEMA as well, if they can come to our aid in this community.
At Tanke Primary School, Government Secondary School, Ilorin, and Government Day Junior and Senior Secondary Schools, hostels and classrooms were mostly affected by the rainstorm.
The classrooms that we are using, they are running in the exam time. We don't even know what to do because we are in exam period. Many of these have literally disturbed the whole program for us in the school.
Students do not have where to sleep again. They are sleeping outside. And students do not have classes to study.
The appeal of residents is for the government to assist with the construction of drainage.
Let them help us make gutter here. It is the community that is contributing money to make this road.
It is obvious that government or an individual cannot alone respond to the plight of these victims. The contributions of other philanthropists will no doubt come in handy to relieve them of their pains. Kehinde Omolosho, NTA News.
Artists in Osun Grove are still counting their losses following the fire that razed the artist village, engulfing artwork worth millions of naira. Femi Afariogun reports that an appeal has gone to various tiers of government for prompt assistance.
Artist Village, synonymous with Osogbo Grove, is where artworks of more than 100 professional artists are being displayed for sales to visitors to the grove. Friday will never be forgotten by these artists as an unknown fire incident destroyed all their finished works.
When I got here and I met the whole thing in arches, something which I did like 25 years, 20 years, 30 years, everything is gone.
If you're looking at the artwork, the kind of the artwork we have in this Artist Village workshop is going to over 300 million naira.
This is what is left of a place of heritage that once housed historical artifacts, batiks, paintings, and sculptures like this one. What is the fate of these artists?
We are training people here. We have a lot of universities. We don't know where to start.
But I believe both the three tiers of government and different philanthropic foundations, they will come to our assistance.
For now, visitors to the grove will not have the privilege of seeing or buying beautiful work of art by these artists. In Osogbo, Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
And that's it from Ibadan. Nationwide continues with Susan in Makudi after this break.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support, yes, by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
The second wave of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic is upon us.
To safeguard lives of our people, government has signed the health protection regulations, which makes wearing a face mask mandatory in public places.
Wear a mask. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Wash your hands regularly with soap and clean water. And use hand sanitizer.
COVID-19 is real. Do not be infected. Do not spread it. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Life is a game. We are cool. We are trendy. Energy moves us. Sports is our game, our oxygen. Because with the round leather, we ball. We hustle. All over the land, north and south, we are united in the pursuit of glory. We are encapsulated by HFL. We live for the game. It's game time. Showing on NTA Network every Saturday at 4:30 p.m.
Fresh off a derby win, the Gunners travel to take on the Hammers in another London derby. Will they make it 2 out of 2? Find out as West Ham take on Arsenal at the London Stadium this Sunday on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 3:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Access Bank, Baba Ijebu, Lipton Tea, and Close Up in association with Gold.com.
Welcome to Makurdi. The Borno State Police Command has confirmed one arrest in connection with the recent murder of Mrs. Eunice Aganya, wife of a retired Commissioner of Police, Ibezimako Aganya. State Police image maker Sewese Anene confirmed this in an exclusive interview with Godwin Inalegu in Makurdi.
The PPRO, who noted frequent killings in the state in recent time, says the command is not relenting in its effort to stem the tide. He further states that no stone will be left unturned to apprehend the killers of late Eunice Aganya, as the Commissioner of Police had directed State Criminal Investigation Department to take over the case.
We cannot fold our hands and watch people perpetrate this act and go scot-free. We have one suspect in custody. We think that in a very short time, we will bring up more information about the cause of our death.
The husband of the deceased, a retired Commissioner of Police, Bezimako Aganya, in an interview said the robbers had broken into the house through the back fence some time ago and made away with bakery materials. He further told NTA News that the assailant used the same spot, which had since been blocked, to gain entrance to the house where they killed his wife.
I called my cousin. He removed the window and saw her on the ground, because the door was locked, the key was not there. So I was thinking he locked the door inside. So when they saw her corpse inside, they opened it and saw she was given a cut, a sharp cut on the head.
Meanwhile, Governor Samuel Utom has commiserated with the retired Commissioner of Police, where he prayed God to grant the family the fortitude to bear the loss. In Makurdi, Godwin Inalegu, NTA News.
The United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, is to expend 302 million naira to equip Benue youths with practical skills, technologies and knowledge across the agricultural value chain, as well as to support internally displaced persons, IDPs. Resident representative of UNDP, Muhammad Yahya, who disclosed this when he visited Governor Samuel Utom in Makurdi, notes that the gesture is part of the organization's efforts to support the state in human security and sustainable development. Charles Abba has more.
The objective of the visit is to jointly explore avenues of addressing challenges of Benue State, including improving human security of communities impacted by header farmer crisis, finding sustainable development solutions to the issue of displacement, and how best to position Benue as not just the food basket, but also as the agricultural hub of the nation. Resident representative of UNDP, Mohamed Yahya, indicated that to create a conducive environment for peace and development, the program has procured critical equipment for the peace agency to be used to operationalize early warning and response system in the state.
To complement your efforts, UNDP, together with the UN agencies, UNHCR, UN Women, FAO, will sustain its integrated support in response to the issue of farmers and herders crisis by strengthening state-level infrastructures for peace.
Governor Samuel Otom, who acknowledged the various interventions of UNDP in the state, obliged to partner the program in the targeted areas. He said the initiative has a high likelihood of dissuading youths from engaging in any destructive social and political activities.
I believe in the rule of law and due process, and this is what I stand for. And so this initiative that is anchored on the rule of law, I am 100% in support of such.
The governor also expressed optimism that risks of food insecurity will be mitigated. In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
And that's our package from Makudi. It's back to Lydia in Abuja for more on NTA Nationwide.
Many thanks, Susan. The return of cotton in the agriculture sector and revival of textile industry are two major economic prospects that experts say can drive federal government's diversification policy. Stakeholders and experts on NTA Current Affairs program Tuesday Live noted that this is coming against the background of the Sustainable Policy Framework for Revitalizing Agriculture. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
Agricultural fortunes and the dominant influence of crude oil sector over time declined the patronage of products like cotton, which accounted for a great percentage of the nation's employment rates. Now stakeholders are concerned over the moribund state of the country's once vibrant cash commodity in the post-independence economy, and the industries is supplied raw materials for utilization.
What we are doing under the Anchor Borrowers program at the moment is a jump start. If we say we create wealth, if we say we want to create wealth, we have to be, the magic word here is sustainability.
The Executive Order 003 has been made. The MOU has been signed. Many of us are already producing. It was anchored by the CBN, and we commend the CBN for it.
Government has a vision to create, in conjunction with the private sector, as PPP or private sector to go it alone, to establish what we call the integrated textile park, textiles and garment park. A typical one is currently being embarked upon by the federal government in Funtua.
The huge government investment in revamping cotton production and diversifying economic growth strategies is being appreciated, with states being advised to put resources towards that direction.
There are 26 states or cotton growing states in Nigeria. None of the states is showing keen interest to ensure that the farmers are maximally utilized, encouraged to produce.
We don't need to import from anywhere. So we will have our own, indigenize, domesticate the technology. That's all we're saying. So that we too, we can get to where India has gotten, we can get to where Brazil is today, we can get to where Argentina is, and US, and so on.
As conversations continue to heighten, stakeholders are perfecting strategies on not only how to revive cotton farming, but also engineer the paradigm shift to sectors that will employ more and create wealth. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
A three-man panel of the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has dismissed the appeal filed by the Attorney General of Imo State and 46 others challenging the ruling of a federal high court in Owerri, which granted Senator Rochas Okorocha the right to amend processes filed before the court. Justice Datijo Yahaya dismissed the appeal following a notice of discontinuance filed by the Attorney General of Imo State on behalf of the appellants. Counsel to Senator Rochas Okorocha, however, opposed the withdrawal of the appeal on the grounds that the appellants were only interested in humiliating Senator Okorocha by marking his properties and that of his associates for demolition during the pendency of the suit before the Federal High Court in Owerri and the appeal before the appeal court. Justice Yahaya, however, dismissed the appeal on the grounds that an appellant has a right to withdraw an appeal following a notice of discontinuance properly filed before the court. Still from the judiciary, an attempt by the defense team of Faisal Maina son of the former chairman defunct pension reform tax team, Abdulrasheed Maina, to reopen defense in his money laundering trial was dismissed by the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja. Olabode Arewa reports.
At the last proceeding, the prosecution had informed the court that Faisal Maina had fled the country. This prompted the court to order that the property pledged by his guarantor to stand as a surety for him be forfeited to the federal government. Faisal Maina, who is facing 3 counts of alleged money laundering alongside his father Abdulrasheed, has reportedly jumped bail, is alleged to have fled to the USA since 2020. This prompted the court to order forfeiture of the 60 million naira pledged as a bail bond by his surety, Dan Galadima, a member representing Kara Namoda Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives. The court, in dismissing Faisal's application to reopen defense, observed that the trial proceedings have reached an advanced stage and both parties have called witnesses.
We may have to bring an application asking that the court stays proceedings until he is found and produced, because we know at the time he was in the custody of the authorities. So except the authorities at least clear that air, it will be improper for us to continue.
Although Faisal is being tried in absentia, the matter has been adjourned to 18th of May 2021. Meanwhile, the trial of his father, Abdulrasheed Maina, could not go on, although some of the witnesses in the trial were in court. The defendant is facing 12 counts of alleged fraud and money laundering while he was head of pensions at the office of the head of civil service or the Federation. The matter has been adjourned to 13th of April for continuation. Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
And that concludes Nationwide. We thank you for being a part of Nationwide. Before we go, remember to join NTA in the stand against rape and rapists. I am Lydia Odide Ochi. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.
To DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview channel 264, or live streaming via www.visiontv.co.uk. Application for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
On Tuesday, 2nd March 2021, Nigeria made history when the country took delivery of 3.924 million doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine from the Serum Institute of India. This is part of the 16 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine from the COVAX facility arrangement, which is a fraction of the expected 84 million doses to Nigeria, covering about 20% of total Nigeria population. NAFDAC had certified the vaccines as safe and efficacious. Now, following this safety certification, the national launch of the COVID-19 vaccine by the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 started with the vaccination of frontline health workers at the National Hospital Abuja on Friday, the 5th March 2021. And in a momentous event on Saturday, March 6, 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo publicly got vaccinated in a bid to increase public confidence in the safety and efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccine. What this means is that the COVID-19 vaccination program has commenced in earnest in Nigeria. For a nation with nearly 200 million population, how has the exercise been? So this edition of Frontiers will look at Nigeria's COVID-19 vaccines administration. Our guest is Dr. Mukhtar Mohammed, National Incident Manager, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Doctor, you're welcome to Frontiers.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for having me on your program.
Now, we're going to take a pause. Frontiers continues in just a moment. Stay with us. Once more, Doc, you're welcome to Frontiers.
Thank you.
Now, Doctor, talk to us about the preservation, storage, and administration, distribution of the vaccines that have been taken delivery of by Nigeria. How many states have taken delivery? What's their share like? And what next after the symbolic vaccination of political leaders and frontline health workers?
So thank you very much. It is really quite exciting, and it's really a very momentous time for Nigeria, having received this much doses of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine in the country. When we were discussing the choice of the vaccines for the country, we looked at the available vaccines, particularly those that have been given the emergency use authorization by WHO. And among all of the vaccines, we found Oxford AstraZeneca to be one of the few that would suit our own logistics system in the country, in the sense that it does not require a very high-end cold storage facility. It is something that we can store using our home refrigerators, which are available in our cold chain facilities, and is also available in our primary healthcare facilities. So that is one of the challenges that we considered, and we went for Oxford AstraZeneca. As a matter of fact, it is the same vaccine of choice for most of the developing and also low-income countries in the world. So for us, when we received these vaccines, they were stored in the Abuja Central Medical Facility under cold storage. And then within a week after we received them, we started working on the distribution. As you are aware, the Federal Ministry of Health and the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency is the agency that is responsible for the distribution, the planning, distribution, and also carrying on the vaccination. The Presidential Task Force provide leadership and coordination for all of these efforts. So we have been assured by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency that the plan has been well done, and the implementation has been going on smoothly. All of the states have received their share of the vaccines.
36 states of the Federation.
The 35 states and FCT.
And the FCT.
So it's only Kogi, and the only reason why Kogi has not received their share of the vaccine is because we are still trying to get a final assurance that they have complied with the checklist, that their cold storage facility is in order, and that they are ready, to receive the vaccines. Once that is received, the vaccines will be shipped to Kogi State as well. And some of the states have actually started the process of vaccination outside the symbolic vaccination that was done for the strategic leaders. Some of the states have actually commenced vaccination in the primary healthcare facilities.
Now, the Primary Healthcare Development Agency had already said that an online portal was provided for people to register, those who are interested in being vaccinated. How much of the interests are Nigerians showing? What response are you getting?
We have seen a tremendous amount of response. Within the first 24 hours, we were informed that over 1 million people have registered on the portal. So that was very, very encouraging. But we know that it is mostly the people who are awaiting, who are eager, who have been sensitized, who are ready to take the vaccine that will usually go, to fill in the initial slots. And we continue with our advocacy, sensitization, and also public awareness campaign to make sure that all Nigerians are aware of the mechanisms involved in this registration. You can register using your smartphone, an Android or an iOS device. You can also visit the health facilities where people can register you. People will also be assisted to register, and there will also be house-to-house registration. But this is going to be in different phases of the vaccination program.
In due course.
Absolutely.
You appear to be impressed with the level of response you're getting from Nigerians in terms of interest in getting vaccinated as they register online on the portal.
Absolutely. So far, it's so good, and we are really excited, and we are trying to meet up with the challenges.
And Nigeria received almost 4 million doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines as a first batch. Where are we going, or when are we going to have this exhausted? And when is the next batch coming?
At the rate we are going, I believe that this batch is going to be exhausted very soon. But certainly before we exhaust it, we hope to get the additional doses from the COVAX facility. I don't want to put out a date, on the public, but we know it is just within a few weeks. Those vaccines are going to be ready. We have been assured by the people working on this vaccine distribution globally, and our Ministry of Health is in constant touch with them to receive this additional 18-point-something million doses.
I'm asking this because in countries like Britain, some of these vaccines, they have first and second doses, and there's an interval stipulated, within which to get these done. How are we sure that we're going to meet up with these doses, second and first doses?
So certainly,
so there's not any lapse or kind of
yes.
What will impair the efficacy of the vaccines?
So the doses between the first and the interval between the first and the second dose for Nigeria, we have agreed is going to be 12 weeks. So that is 3 months. And what we're talking about now, we are going to get our second consignment in just a matter of very few weeks. So we have time, but we'll continue to work hard to make sure that we receive these additional doses as and when due, so that people who have received the first doses will not have to wait longer than the 12 weeks to get their second doses. That will certainly make sure it happens.
It's very crucial indeed. Also in Britain, the vaccination started with people, like old people with comorbidities. Well, in Nigeria, okay, I think they started with those with comorbidities, the older people with comorbidities, and then the frontline workers. But here in Nigeria, we started with frontline workers and political leaders. Yes. How strategic is Nigeria's own pattern?
So if you look at it, we know our country, we know the pattern of our people, and we know the psyche of Nigerians when it comes to lack of trust regarding government policies, lack of trust regarding vaccination in general. And so we took all this into consideration. And what we did now is really an unprecedented strategy, where we have galvanized the support of our political leaders, and as demonstrated by His Excellency Mr. President and the Vice President. And we have asked, the President had asked all the state governors and other political leaders to do the same. So shortly after Mr. President, you could see that the next in line were the PTF members. Our chairman, the secretary to the government of the Federation, received his vaccine publicly. About 5 ministers received their own on the spot, and other members of the presidential task force also took their vaccination. This is to send a message to the public that these vaccines are safe, and the people who are preaching to the public to take these vaccines demonstrated it themselves by giving the right example. And that is why we think it is also something that needs to go down the line. At the state level, we encourage the state governors and the commissioners to take the lead. And most of them have done that. The strategic leadership of most of the states have demonstrated, and they have taken their vaccination, and they have asked, the commissioners, the local government chairmen, and the others to do it. We have a list. We have calculated the number of people that are required, including the National Assembly members. So we know that that is not in any way going to impede or eat into the amount of the vaccine that is reserved for the frontline health workers.
For a country of nearly 200 million people, how far can the expected 84 million doses of the vaccine go? What will happen to the rest?
No. So the reality is not that we are getting only 84 million doses of the vaccine. Let me make it clear. Our target is to reach up to 70% of the population. That is when we will say we get a herd immunity. And we're talking about population of 18 years and above in the country. So we will continue to provide the vaccination, and our timeline is within 2 years. Hopefully by ending 2022, we should be able to reach that 70% target.
Okay, that's a good one. Thank you, Doc. Okay, let me ask you this question before we take a break. We hear that some have actually, who have taken the vaccine, they have actually reported some side effects. How is this being tackled?
People that have taken the COVID vaccine for now in the country have experienced, like you said, mild side effects. These are different from adverse events. Adverse events are severe symptoms, are severe side effects that, compromise or threaten the life of the subject. So all of the symptoms that people have experienced are usually within the normal limit. So you can have some mild fever, you can have some headache, you can have some discomfort or general feeling of unwell. All of us that have taken the vaccination, we shared experience, and it was really an exciting moment, to know that others also shared the same symptoms that you had. So it was reassuring. So I want to reassure Nigerians that the symptoms are usually mild. However, there may be some exceptions.
We will take a break now, Doctor, and continue. When we come back, we'll talk more on the side effects and what measures that you would take in to contain the side effects, and of course. This is Frontiers, discussing Nigeria's COVID-19 vaccine administration. Now, Doc, let's take a look at some reports, adverse reports we're getting from some countries like Italy, Denmark, Germany, Iceland, Norway. The saying that some people reported cases of blood clotting resulting from taking of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Don't you think this is discouraging?
Yeah, certainly. It's a major setback to the scientific world. But we also have a scale, you look at whenever you have this kind of issues reported. And what you do is you look at the benefit versus the risk. And you also try to establish what is called causality. That is this event that has been reported due to the administration of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. So in the first place, yes, we know that the benefit outweighs the risk, because in the 5 million people that have received the vaccination, as of the time of that report, only 30 people were reported to have developed that blood clot abnormality. Now, secondly, if you also look at the risk or the risk of developing blood clot in the general population versus the risk of developing blood clot among people who have received the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, you realize that the risk of developing that blood clot among people who have been vaccinated is actually lower than the risk of developing that blood clot among the general population.
And we hear that it's not even proven.
So that is what I mean. It is not. This is
actually traced to.
So this is the proof. The initial proof
vaccine.
the initial proof you look for is to establish that relationship, that the incidence is higher among people who are vaccinated than those who are unvaccinated. Then the second thing is to do the cause relationship, to establish cause effect, that it is actually the vaccine that is causing that. Now, the scientists have posed in Europe, and they're trying to look at the data. And so far, what we have been receiving, even today, is reassurances from some of the regulatory agencies in Europe to tell us that there is no association between the administration of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine and the development of the blood clot. This is not to say that it is conclusive. This is to say that based on the fact that they have available, and they'll continue to look at the data.
Can I ask one question? We have different vaccines. We have the Moderna, we have the one from Pfizer, we have Johnson & Johnson. Is there any plan to get those ones as well for Nigerians, at least?
Oh, certainly.
In case somebody doesn't want to be vaccinated with the AstraZeneca.
Is that what you are planning, Nancy?
I'm just suggesting, not just...
Well, the thing is, yes, the Federal Ministry of Health and the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency are in touch with the COVAX facility, and part of the package that will be coming to Nigeria is not only Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. We also have Johnson & Johnson, and we also are looking towards negotiating and discussing, to get the Russian vaccine, which is Sputnik. So, and we're also going to get a few doses also of the Pfizer vaccine based on the arrangement that we are making. So people can
have a choice.
So there is going to be a choice, and not only having a choice, but I think there is also an advantage or benefit in diversity of the vaccines, because one vaccine may be strong against a certain strain, whereas it may be weak against a particular strain, and the other vaccine can now provide that complement.
I wanted to ask you, we hear that all the vaccines already in vogue now, they were all made or tailored towards containing the first strain of the virus. Meanwhile, we have different strains. So what's the efforts being made to ensure that the vaccines accommodate the other strains?
Yeah, so actually that is, we are aware of that, and the scientific world is also aware of that, even though it is worrisome development, but it is good, and it is also heartwarming to know that the manufacturing industries are already working towards development of second-generation vaccines. That is vaccines that will work against the variants. You can predict how the mutations is going to be. You can predict which mutations are going to be of public health concern, and they are working to develop vaccines you know, to meet those mutations that are going to come. So it is really good to know that even though these vaccines have been developed based on the existing variants, and some of which are still good for even the new mutations that we are seeing, like the South Africa vaccine variant and also the B117 of the UK. But the additional variants also will have to work towards getting vaccines that will be effective.
And again, having to wait for vaccines coming from outside Nigeria and the uncertainty that trails it, don't you see the need for local manufacture or indigenous manufacture of vaccines?
Certainly. I mean, that is really an important aspect, and the government is working, it's thinking about that. I know that there are efforts where there are high-level discussions regarding what needs to be done to ensure that Nigeria is able to produce its vaccine, or at least to have a vaccine production plant in Africa. Now, the problem is, you know, developing a vaccine takes time. And the initial investment that some of the companies made, you know, is something that is over a long period of time. And some of these companies do not give their licenses freely and willingly. So they have some conditions attached, and it is part of this actually that we have the India manufacturing plant, which is the IIL India, you know, producing this Oxford AstraZeneca, you know, for the rest of the world. So for Nigeria, really, that is the way to go. Even if we're not able to start production of the vaccines in the next few years, we should sow the seed that will help us achieve that in the next few years.
It's a big challenge indeed. Now, recently, Interpol, we learned that Interpol arrested some 3 Chinese and Zambian at a German factory manufacturing fake vaccines. This is another problem. People are afraid of the genuineness of the vaccines that are being spread across the world, and then the ones that come into Nigeria.
So certainly, fake vaccines are true, and the story you mentioned is also true. And we have to do everything we can within our power to guard against proliferation of fake vaccines, and to make sure that all the vaccines that come to Nigeria are genuine and they're directly from the professionals, so from the manufacturers. So what did we do? First, we set some ground rules that Nigeria is not going to procure vaccines through any vendor. Even if you come with an agreement, with a license, with whatever, to get this thing, that is not the source of getting our vaccine. Our vaccines will be obtained directly from the known manufacturers in the world. Secondly, no other business person is allowed to import vaccines into Nigeria. Only the government will do that. And government also has set up the mechanism to procure these vaccines. So there is a bank account with Central Bank, which is in association with the Afrexim Bank, Bank of Africa, you know, to be able to put those funds together so that Afrexim Bank will now make payment directly to the manufacturer and get the vaccines. The other sources are the donations we are receiving from COVAX. Now that we are well represented in that forum, you have the Minister of Health, you also have the WHO, you know, that is there, and so we get our vaccines directly from the manufacturers. It is very challenging because many people have approached the PTF, you know, that they want to import these vaccines, that it is so difficult for the country to get it. They have established relationship with the manufacturers. They want to import these vaccines, and the PTF said, no, you will not do it. We've also had state governments who are eager to import these vaccines, who informed the PTF that they are making arrangement to import these vaccines through other channels. And the PTF told them, no, we will not allow that, because that is an open source where fake results, fake vaccines can find their way into Nigeria.
Now, let me quote the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Boss Mustafa, who said, while the vaccine offers great hope, it cannot on its own protect you completely, unquote. Why did he say so? What does this mean for Nigerians?
Yes, so what that means is that the vaccine itself does not offer you 100% protection. There is a loophole. There is no vaccine that is 100% that has 100% efficacy. Yeah. Okay, so and the vaccine we're using now has about 70% efficacy. So that means that 3 out of every 10 people may not develop the required immune response to prevent them against having severe form of COVID-19.
Weighing the pros and the cons of the vaccines, what's your advice to Nigerians?
So my advice is, for us, it is really very, very clear that the vaccine is safe, and the side effects that we are mentioning are well known, and they are usually mild. We have not yet recorded any adverse event in Nigeria. The batch of the vaccine that we are using here is different from the batch that was reported to be associated with adverse events in Europe, and therefore this vaccine is safe, and we hope that Nigerians will comply to the call by the national leadership. Nigerians will understand the benefit far outweighs the risk of not having vaccination. So if you take the first dose, please continue to observe the non-pharmaceutical interventions, because you may not know, you may be among those 40% who the vaccine, the first dose, will not completely work, safe, yeah. Exactly, keep you safe. So that is important. We need to know that. We need to continue masking up, observing social distancing, and continue washing our hands until when the government is comfortable to say that we can remove these restrictions.
Until COVID-19 is killed off entirely. On that note, I have to thank you, Doc, for coming on Frontiers.
Thank you, Nancy, and it's really nice to come on your show.
Thank you so much. This has been Frontiers, taking a look at Nigeria's COVID-19 vaccine administration with Dr. Mokhtar Mohammed, National Incident Manager, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, talking elaborately on the successful takeoff of the COVID-19 vaccination in Nigeria and plans to contain the virus in any way possible without forgetting to continue to observe the non-pharmaceutical protocols so as to keep safe and stay blessed. From me, Nancy Godianganihu, it's bye for now.
This is NTA International.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key.
I'm Cyril Stober.
Fatima Umar Buba.
Joseph Johnson.
Ian Ray John.
Muhammad Kudu Abubakar.
Jumbo Yusuf.
My name is Kirian Umaya.
Here in NTA, we're working very hard to make sure that everything we broadcast is accurate and up to date. Misinformation spreads very fast.
The social media has been a huge conveyor of misleading information from one individual to another, then to another set of groups. In a short while, it goes viral, and before you know it, it is all over the world.
There have been several misleading information on coronavirus COVID-19. Recently, the misconception of 5G as a cause of coronavirus is becoming widespread. Another is the belief that hot beverages and alcoholic drinks are internal cleanser for COVID-19, thereby leading to excessive consumption of these drinks.
The use of local concoctions as treatment for COVID-19 are yet to be scientifically proven. However, there has been several theories about the efficacies of these concoctions. We should stay safe and denounce all manner of fake news and misleading information on COVID-19.
For medical advice, go on the WHO website, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC website, or stick with the advisories from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 or other authentic official sources. NTA is one of them.
Office of the NTA.